to add a new row to the input table. Click on the recycle button. Trash can to delete the active row. You can change the size of that node. You can also edit that node once you have it. Of course, now, as you see, it put a little uh, red triangle at the corner. As soon as you hover on that cell, that node comes up. So if the user doesn't know how you constructed it, you're telling them what to do. All I have to do is assign code to these. Now, I've given specific names to these tables. So I'm going to change the names. Or I call this inputs table, and I call this, I think, options table. Yeah. So that's my inputs table. If I go to, once I'm in a table, a context-dependent tab comes in, table design. Here, table name. By default, Excel called it table one, but just like I can name a cell, I can change the name of a table. Now it says inputs table right here. I'm going to do the same thing here. And this is my options table. I'm not going to worry about it this today. Maybe I will. We'll see, depending upon the time. But let's write a simple piece of code. If I click on the plus button, it's going to add a new table, new row to the inputs table. Again, I have the code for it from my previous one. Where is it? Add new input row. Let me copy that. I'm going to actually allow you the time to write it for yourself. And I'm going to go to my basics. I, again, gave it a very descriptive name to the sub. Add new input row. Again, whether or not you use those underscores, doesn't matter. For my old eyes, it's a lot easier for me to read it because it's rare that I'm going to have to type it again later. Again, I declare the types of three of my variables. I call them I tabs, N tabs on my table. I tabs and N tabs are integers, and my table is string. Okay. The first thing I ask the sub to do on my active sheet, count. On my active sheet, count the number of tables. Okay. So this is going to tell me that on this sheet I have two tables. And this is a control structure in Visual Basic or VBA that allows you to repeat stuff. It's called a loop. In this case, for next loop. For all values of I tabs from 1 to n tabs, do the following. And because of some issues with the table naming, because I don't know if my table, if the current table is the inputs table or not. That's why I look at all of them. This basically says in the active sheet among the tables, remember, in this case, I tabs is going to go from 1 to 2, all right? Suppose I'm in the first table. This says pick up the name of the first table and truncate that name to 6 characters from the left. If that is equal to inputs, then let me see. Then call the variable my table is the name of the current table. Okay. I'm basically grabbing the name. Otherwise, don't do anything. I mean, do this thing only if the active table is the inputs table, or it's a table where the first 6 characters of the name is inputs. Once that's done, the following it says, among the tables, okay, grab the table of interest, my table, and of that, grab the rows and add one row. And this says always insert pretty much at the end. All right. That's what it does. Do you guys want to type these or you would later add them yourself? Oh, that's all right. Or I can again. Huh? But, as long as you see how it is done, I'm going to give you the completed product anyway. Then you can go ahead and look at it. But as you can see, I mean, these are basically unnecessary stuff, but that's me being what you want to call anal about it. It's all programming practice. Because if I don't declare that, Excel is going to use them as the so-called variant type. That uses a lot more memory and space. I come from a generation where the first PC I used had RAM of 256K, not megabytes, kilobytes, not gigabytes. And you learn how to be careful with that sort of stuff. It's also good practice because if you do something that's not, I mean, if you try to put in a value to iTabs that's not an integer, then it's going to give an error message. And you want that. By the way, integer is a data type that allows integers from plus or minus 32,005 something. Okay. If you want bigger integers, you want to say long. That's plus or minus 2 billion or something. I mean, presumably we're not going to have that many tables. If you want only 0, 1, actually, you could say Boolean. Boolean is a variable type that's either true or false. Okay, let's attach to this green button the macro assign, add new input row. Now, as soon as I hit that, see,